Hello guys and gals of the internet, I'm the 7chaos of YouTube, Mixer and Twitch TV. Welcome to the very first 7chaos previous episode from the new house and the first 7chaos previous episode of 2020. And there's quite the sense of deja vu because last year was actually the first 7chaos previous of 2019 and it was Resident Evil 2's remake. And here we are a little over a year later, and now we're doing the same thing again, but this time it's a Resident Evil 3 remake. A game that I think we all knew was coming. We all knew this remake was inevitable. They probably had it planned just as Resident Evil 2 finished development. I think this has been in development since 2 finished and was literally inevitable. And especially after the critical acclaim that Resident Evil 2 remake received upon release, where Resident Evil fans, general gamers, survival horror fans, any person who played Resident Evil 2 loved that game. So I think the reviewers alike, critically praising the game, critical acclaim everywhere, probably was the new standard for remakes, which it was. And I think we knew from then on that Resident Evil 3 was almost a given, especially considering the fact that it's the thing people asked for. Literally from the moment they finished the second game. And I have to give a big thank you to everyone involved that did that, everyone that wanted it, and Capcom who made it. Because as of today, I have almost, and I emphasize almost, I've almost played the entire New World Resident Evil series, and even a couple of other spin-offs and a couple from side stories, say Revelations. I've played 1, I've played 2, I've played 4, I've played 5, I've played 6, Revelations 1, Revelations 2, and even the Umbrella and Dark Side Chronicles light gun shooters with Time Lady games a few years ago. The only ones I haven't played aside from that would be the Resident Evil Outbreak files. I'm not sure what the games are called, but I think it's Resident Evil Outbreak, and it's a bunch of characters that are parallel to the events of Resident Evil 2, I think, but I'm not entirely sure. But I think it's called Outbreak. So those are the only games I haven't played. But there is one in the New World series I haven't played. You're looking at it, and it's downloading right now to my hard drive. But yeah, you're looking at it. Resident Evil 3. I have no experience with this game at all, other than watching a playthrough from Vash. And I know bits and pieces. I know Jill Valentine, obviously. I know Carlos. I know that Carlos is a member of the Umbrella Countermeasure Service that is basically just a group of expendable soldiers to cover Umbrella's tracks with the goal of rescuing the civilians. I think Operation Raccoon City actually does feature one of Carlos's team members in the Umbrella soldier's story, and then you actually meet up with Carlos and I think Jill at some point during the Special Forces story that was later added as DLC to Operation Raccoon City. Unfortunately, that game was a load of squandered potential, so we won't talk about that. But yeah, and there's Resident Evil Resistance as well, so I'll be able to install that. I just noticed that as well. So yeah, we won't talk about Operation Raccoon City because it was just a bunch of squandered potential. And I think in Umbrella Chronicles they do kind of go into Resident Evil 3 a little bit. You meet Carlos and you kind of play segments throughout Resident Evil 3, so I do know bits and pieces. I do know that Nemesis is the biggest pest going in Raccoon City from Vash's playthrough. He doesn't like the game because he doesn't like Nemesis, because he is a relentless pest throughout the entire game, where to the point he will even follow you through doors. You know, Tyrant in Resident Evil 2, the original anyway, just busted through walls and appeared in tight corridors. He had scripted scenes. Nemesis is a lot less scripted than that. He will appear anywhere. He will follow you through doors. He will follow you literally almost throughout the entire game, I believe. And what's even more kind of oh my god about that is that you think Tyrant is annoying in Resident Evil 2 as just a guy who just frequently gets in the way of your progress throughout the game. I found him particularly annoying in the library section. Oh boy, Nemesis isn't even starting those problems, dude. Nemesis can now, apparently, according to the game developers, follow you into the save rooms. So you might not even be able to save your game for the majority of Resident Evil 3, your first playthrough. You might not even be able to save your game because Nemesis will be there, grabbing you with his tentacles and bashing you in the face. And I'll tell you something, it's weird because Nemesis is quite the upgrade from Tyrant, is in the point where his behaviour is different, obviously, because he can follow you through doors and stuff. And he's obviously, in the original, he picked up a bazooka, he had tentacle arms, he grabbed you and punched you in the face. I think he had one time when he was insta-kills. And yeah, if you think Tyrant is annoying in 2, Nemesis is beyond that. And I have no doubt that despite the remake being completely new and made from the ground up, they've probably made Nemesis just as annoying. You know, Tyrant was more annoying than the 2's original because he had just obstructed my progress half the time. Nemesis is probably going to be worse. I'm going to get nightmares by the end of this game, and I'm probably never going to want to play it again if my prediction is correct about Nemesis just being an absolute pest throughout the entire time. So yeah, I'm not looking forward to that. But truth be told, guys, I didn't even know Resident Evil 3 was a thing. I'm going into this completely blind because I never knew it was even a thing. Can you believe that? My first revelation of Resident Evil 3 being a game was one time when I was actually at my grandparents' house and noticed that my uncle owned Resident Evil 4. And I believe it was for the Wii, but don't quote me on that, I could be wrong. But I think it was for the Wii. I took one look at it and I thought, oh fuck, I didn't even know 3 was a thing in this series. I've completely spaced it. And the bad thing is, I think I had an Xbox 360 or PlayStation 2 at the time, but even if I had the PlayStation 2, I never owned Resident Evil 3, so I couldn't play it. And I never played it. But since the game came out, I have had 2 opportunities to play it. Number one was back sometime before Resident Evil 6 came out, and I was kind of going through Resident Evil 2 for Time Lady Games. I was actually going to plan to marathon the entire series, but because I love 2 so much, that's the only one I ended up playing to catch her up before our initial playthrough of Resident Evil 6 that we did put up and they took down after our channel reboots. But at that time I had a chance to play Resident Evil 3 and I never even touched it. And then the second time was actually during a time that I had my PlayStation 3 and was recording footage on it when I was doing my what's now called Formula 1 Rewriting of History series, Phase 1, which would be Season 1 at the Michael Schumacher comeback years. There'll be a pre-season video for that coming up very soon, that explaining the whole situation about that. You know, I had the means to record because the PlayStation 3 had the HDCP lock built into the console, which meaning you couldn't record PS3 footage through HDMI. You had to get one of the AV adapter cables that the first model of Elgato Game Capture HDs came with. So I actually bought one and had the cables with me. And it was a perfect time to sit down and record the original playthrough of Resident Evil 2. It was probably going to be Claire A and both Leon A. With the B scenarios, probably not, because back then I took one look at Tyrant and Resident Evil 2 and was like, nope, not dealing with you, see you. And with Resident Evil 3 as well, and I never took that chance. And it's my biggest regret for YouTube videos to this day. Ever since I've been a content curator, that has been my biggest regret to this day, that I didn't sit and record the original Resident Evil 2, a game I love so much, and the original Resident Evil 3. Thankfully, of course, that has been rectified with 2's remake and 3's remake, so I do finally get to play them, thank goodness. I would have, with 2, I would have loved to play the original, but I've got no way of doing it. But the remake has saved me on that one, and it is a fantastic game. And I have no doubt that Resident Evil 3 is going to be just as good. You know, I was really kind of struggling if I was actually going to make this a proper episode, because I'm probably going to be covering, apart from that, I'm obviously covering a lot of ground with Resident Evil 2. I don't really need to talk about the game because from what I've noticed of the demo in particular is that it is very Resident Evil 2-esque in the way it plays, with the gunplay and the movement and the motion capture and the graphics. It's all insanely done with the RE engine. Once again, a graphical marvel in this most recent era and age of gaming. The Resident Evil engine, the RE engine, is pretty much on par with Naughty Dog, and there's not much others to speak of. Controls the same, just a different story, really, because unbelievably, I would have never believed this if someone told me this before. But Resident Evil 3, actually, their story Jill's story begins before the events of Resident Evil 2, and I never would have believed that. I was actually quite surprised to learn that, and the two stories kind of merge, but not really, because it starts to coincide as you get later into the game. Events start to coincide with Resident Evil 2, and they sort of merge, but they not really, because they don't Jill doesn't meet Claire or Leon or Sherry, but I'm assuming that as Claire, Leon and Sherry are walking out of the train tunnel and into the sunset, with Sherry wanting Claire and Leon to adopt her, which was like the most precious and adorable thing I've ever heard. Probably somewhere above them in the sky, Jill Valentine and Carlos Oliveira are escaping just before the nuclear missile literally decimates Raccoon City. It's pretty much it's what Dead Rising. If you play Dead Rising 2, you pretty much know that there's a firebomb or a nuclear bomb that decimates Raccoon City, and it becomes a wasteland, basically, with all traces of evidence now kind of buried. With the only person who really knows Umbrella's real intentions, and probably because she tells him, is Carlos. He's probably the only one who knows anything, and even then, the Umbrella Countermeasure Service was brought in with the goal of saving civilians, but really they were just expendable forces sent out by Umbrella to cover their tracks. So they kind of did that in the regard, and then the stock prices crashed, and then they never were really heard from again until Resident Evil 7. Check my ending for the playthrough for that. So that's pretty much all I know about this game. I don't know Jill's scenario. It was kind of weird because Jill Valentine hasn't really been in a Resident Evil game since 5, and even then, after 3, we all were kind of bamboozled by the fact that she was shown as dead in the beginning of Resident Evil 5. And then you obviously find out what happened really in the Lost in Nightmares DLC for that game, but that's the first you really see of her after Resident Evil 3, and then all the events of Resident Evil 5 happen, her traumatic experience, and all through that, through Wesker's manipulation in that game. And then she's never really heard from again, and you can understand why with all the stuff she went through in Resident Evil 5. They probably didn't really feel the need to send her out again and jeopardize her safety because of what happened. Or maybe this game has something to do with it, I don't know, but that's kind of the theory I got with Jill Valentine anyway. But you can kind of understand it. But a guy on YouTube put it best, the Fourth Snake I think his name is, he did wasted potential on Jill Valentine, and the one thing he said towards the end was, Claire and Barry met before Claire and Jill. It's ridiculous, and it is. It's kind of weird to think that for the majority, when you do think of Chris in the Resident Evil series, you think of Jill, and if you think of Leon, you think of Claire. But every time you see Chris now, Jill is not even mentioned anymore. It's so weird, and she's never met Chris's sister. And there's all these kind of things. Are they a couple? Are they not? I ship them, just as a side note. But are they a couple? Are they not? It's very unclear. I ship them, but it's been never really explored. I said that in Revelations 1. They've never really explored that, and I think it's a good thing that they haven't explored that. They don't make it so obvious and in your face. You have to kind of put the pieces together and work it out for yourself. So it's a kind of mystery. which I like, but I ship them most definitely. Yeah. Apart from that, Resident Evil 3 is pretty much Resident Evil 2, and I think that's a good thing. Resident Evil 2 was a phenomenal game, so the fact that it pretty much follows in terms of gameplay and style, plus the dodge and the quick step. I do believe that there is a quick step, and I do believe there is a dodge mechanic very similar to 3's original. And I think even if you do a perfectly timed dodge, you can actually get a bullet time power for a bit and start shooting zombies and enemies with it. I didn't really get a perfect dodge in my playthrough. I didn't even use the dodge in my playthrough that much, of the demo, I mean. But yeah, hopefully we can really kind of do that, and I can kind of get used to that. But the demo didn't really explore that very much, so I wasn't able to really figure that out. I just knew how to quick step, and even then I didn't really use it. I just used my tried and true strategy of bringing down a zombie and just running. And then you saw Nemesis at the end of the game, and I was just like, run, I have a pistol, fuck that, not taking on Nemesis with this baby pea shooter, I'm gone, see ya. Outro, see ya, as Vash would say. So yeah, pretty much Resident Evil 3 is Resident Evil 2 with Jill, and that's pretty much it, really. There isn't really much else to say, I've already played the demo, I already know that the graphics engine is superb. I absolutely love the design of Jill and Carlos in this game, and as you can probably see, there is a DLC that for pre-ordering the game, you do get the Jill and Carlos outfits, the classic outfits from Resident Evil 3, but I'm probably not going to use them because I'm such a big fan of Jill and Carlos's design in this game. I absolutely love them. I'm a huge fan, and I'm in particular a big fan of Jill. I think Jill here now is probably the best she's ever looked, actually, and I don't mean that in an eye candy way or anything like that, because that was one of the things that the developers of the game came out and said was we didn't want to make a sex appeal kind of Jill, and I get that point, because Jill isn't someone you would put in that category. Jill is a heroine woman, much like Lara Croft or Maxine Caulfield or Samus even. She's one of those heroine women that doesn't need a sex appeal label, if that makes any sense. I do get that some people were saying, well, there was nothing wrong with her design to begin with, but I think either way, Jill doesn't need it. Does that make any sense? I don't think Jill is a woman that needs it. Jill is a badass heroine woman, so a sex appeal kind of label, if they were to do that, wouldn't really mesh well, if that makes any sense. I hope I'm not sounding like a sexist person here, but I personally just don't think that Jill needs it. I see where the developer was coming from, and I do say where the people are coming from as well, that said, well, there's nothing wrong with the design in the first place. You changed her so much, and she looked great in Resident Evil 3. There was nothing really to change about her and things. But I see both sides, but I also think for myself that Jill doesn't really need that. Jill is one of the badass heroine women, and really the kind of, much like Lara Croft, she's, even though she's not really been the main lead, she's one of the standouts for female leads in gaming because of her heroism and the way she is. And even in Resident Evil 1, when the original, when the writing was cheesy as fuck, it's like Jill Valentine just stuck out to me. Jill and Chris just stuck out to me, and it was two of my favourite characters in the series. So I don't think Jill needs it. I'm perfectly happy with Jill's design in this game. I love the fact that Carlos has somehow grown an afro head. I do love it though. I do love it. I think it suits him better, actually. I've seen his original outfit in the DLC, and I'm not feeling it, actually. I actually prefer Carlos like that. I actually do, and I prefer Jill like that as well, so I'm just going to stick with the original costumes for my playthrough when that begins. So I'm pretty much on the same level with Resident Evil 2. I'm excited, can't wait, and I just hope Nemesis doesn't completely fuck me over a million times, or we might not even finish the game. But that is not all. Now, I'm pretty disappointed, not in an angry way or anything like that, but I'm sort of semi-disappointed that there wasn't a lot of pre-order bonuses for pre-ordering this game, because if you remember when Resident Evil 2 came out, they came out with a deluxe edition that had soundtrack swap and various costumes for Leon and Claire, and you even got to pick alternate costumes, and they actually changed the outfits for Ada and Sherry in particular. But there's nothing like that for pre-ordering this game, which kind of semi-disappoints me in a way. But the thing that replaces it is what you're seeing right now. There is a free game in the Resident Evil series coming out alongside this game, and you can see it right here. I'll actually go over it. That's the free game you actually get for even buying Resident Evil 3. You don't even have to pre-order it. I think you can buy it and you get Resident Evil Resistance for free no matter what. Now, Resident Evil Resistance is a 4-on-1, what they call asymmetrical shooter. Think Evolve. Think Predator Hunting Grounds. Think Day of Deadlight, I believe that game is. You know, think games like that. You know, there's a team of 4 against either a big giant monster in Evolve, the Predator in Predator Hunting Grounds. I'm not sure who it is in Dead of Daylight. Friday the 13th. Friday the 13th, think of that as well. A team of 4 against Jason. Pretty much Resident Evil Resistance follows the same thing. It's a team of 4 unconnected characters to the mainstream Resident Evil series. They're all new characters. And it's like up against the Mastermind. And what the Mastermind can do, apparently, from what I've played of the beta, it's okay. It's not the sort of game I would put a lot of time into, but it's something I'm going to check out, because I'm not going to turn my nose up a free game when buying this game, the one game that I've got left to play in the Resident Evil numeral series. I'm not going to pass up the opportunity to play a free game if I'm getting it free alongside it, so I'm not going to pass up that opportunity to put this game. But to me, it's alright. It's alright, but I think I need more experience with this kind of game, because I've rarely played asymmetrical shooters. I didn't jump on with Evolve. I didn't play Day of Deadlight either, or Dead of Daylight, I'm not sure what it's called. I've wanted to play Friday the 13th and just never have. So Resident Evil Resistance will actually be my first real experience into that type of game. So there is that. So I'll use my session of recording. I'll record it and I'll put it up and I'll stream it as well, and we'll check it out, and we'll check it out to the fullest. I do believe Jill is actually going to be a character you can pick in Resident Evil Resistance at some point in the future. So it's going to be one of those games where they probably add a bunch of content. Hopefully they'll add the likes of Chris and maybe a Wesker and maybe a Claire and a Leon. You know, they might even add Claire and Leon, because as we know, Resident Evil 3 and Resident Evil 2 sort of run alongside each other later into the Resident Evil 3 story. So they might even add the Resident Evil 2 characters as people you can pick later in the game. So that'd be pretty cool. And basically it's the Mastermind in Resident Evil Resistance, and he's, to my experience, and I could be wrong, but he seems OP as hell, because he can control everyone. You're in a... This game is very Umbrella Corps, and what I mean is, you sort of wake up in this experimental facility type place, and you have to escape. And the Mastermind is in there, and he can set traps. He can put zombies and dogs in places, and lickers, and you can even put the Tyrant in there. If you're the Mastermind, you actually get at one point to pick the Tyrant. Now, that's quite funny. And it's Resident Evil 2's Tyrant, by the way, not Nemesis yet. I hope Nemesis is actually a thing they add as well. That'd be pretty cool. That was pretty cool, because during playing the beta for this game, I actually streamed it. I found chasing these people with the Tyrant absolutely hilarious. I found it hilarious. It was so fun. It only lasted about a minute, but it's just so fun to just stomp up to these survivors, and the control people are like, oh shit, Tyrant's after me, and I'm punching people in the face. It was absolutely hilarious. That was so fun, actually. It's not a game I would sink a lot of time into, but I think that aspect was rather fun. But I will check it out. I will do a session. I'm not sure how much I will do with this game. I'll probably do a session when Jill is eventually dropped for the game as well. because I'll probably be picking Jill every time. I'll probably have dibs on Jill for most of the matches, if not all of them. But yeah, it's something I'll check out. Check out the full release, why not? They might have more in the full release, because obviously what I played was the beta, so it probably didn't look like there was a lot to begin with. There seemed to be this one map with different objectives, which is pretty cool. It's like, I think it's one of these games that no two games are ever going to be the same. And what I mean is, I think there's like different objectives or different things you have to do every time you play. So even though it might be the same map, it won't be the same thing you have to do. I think the end objective will obviously be to escape, but you'll have to do it different ways beforehand. So I'm looking forward to it, and like I said, I'm not going to turn up my nose at a free game, which I think is... I think it's a great idea, but I think I can see why it's a free game. But to be fair, having said that, asymmetrical shooters have been quite popular recently. Think Dead by Daylight, think Friday the 13th. People were playing those two games in particular to death. There's always people on stream playing those two games in particular. Not a lot of people bought Evolve, which was unfortunate really, because I was actually really excited by Evolve, but nobody ended up buying it, unfortunately. But for Resident Evil Resistance is coming at a time where 4-on-1 asymmetrical shooters are quite popular with Friday the 13th and Dead by Daylight in particular. So maybe this game can actually benefit from that. And I am definitely going to be checking out the full version when this game comes out. Because like I said, I'm not going to tell my nose at a free game. So yeah, I think that covers this video. I think that this video pretty much wrapped up. Yes, it will be on the gaming PC. So that's 2 more games for my gaming PC. And I will be playing Resident Evil 3 with keyboard and mouse after being transitioned to a PC gamer and then a keyboard and mouse control scheme gamer most recently. So my transition to the PC and the keyboard and mouse continues, and I will be playing Resident Evil 3 as its entirety with keyboard and mouse. It's probably going to be, aside from Life is Strange and Telltale games, I think this is going to be my first real big mainstream game playthrough with keyboard and mouse, because yes, I did play it with Dead Rising 2 off the record, and yes, I did play it with Resident Evil 7, but I didn't play it from beginning to end. I had played Resident Evil 7, I started from part 5 and with keyboard and mouse, and Dead Rising was like part 12. So from beginning to end, Resident Evil 3 is going to be my first proper playthrough with keyboard and mouse through its entirety, but doesn't include a Life is Strange or Walking Dead, because they can be quite more simpler games to play. You don't have to aim and shoot and everything. But like I said in my Call of Duty keyboard and mouse set, I've really been enjoying using it. I'm really enjoying using it now, and now I'm grasping it even better, and I'm getting better all the time, and I'm really just enjoying it. But this game does have controller support, and it is on the PS4 and Xbox One if you guys so wish to get those versions for yourselves. And that pretty much covers it. So it's downloading right now, but as you can see, it's 22 in the morning, so I'm going to be going to bed, and I'll probably be playing it from the morning of release, if it is out by then, because don't forget, Steam games don't normally unlock until 5 PM. So Resident Evil 3 Remake might be a little late to the table in that regard, but you will definitely see it on day 1. And I can't wait, and it's finally time. I think Jill needs to come back into the mainstream series. I've missed her, and I think a lot of people have probably missed her as well. We can understand why she hasn't been in the game since 5, but I think she needs to come back in some capacity, because they brought Barry back and they brought Gris back with a brand new design at Resident Evil 7. So I think Jill needs her time again, and let's hope it's soon. But we'll have to wait and see what Capcom want to do. I think after this, I think Capcom might be moving on to a newer Resident Evil entry. And after Resident Evil 7 was surprisingly good to me, I'm right on board with whatever they do. I was on board with Resident Evil 5 and 6. They won me over with Resident Evil 7 because I didn't get it in the first place. So whatever they do with Resident Evil 8, if it comes out, I'm right on board. So maybe after this game, we will start to see a newer entry to the Resident Evil series being made, considering the new consoles are supposedly coming out towards the end of this year, although maybe not with everything that's going around, but we'll have to wait and see what everyone can do and where we are in terms of all that. So that's it for this video. It's gone a lot longer than I thought, but there wasn't really much else to say apart from the points I just mentioned and Resident Evil Resistance to talk about. So it's gone a lot longer than I thought, but that's a good thing, right? Considering that I didn't really have a lot, I didn't think I was going to say a lot. I actually made this almost half an hour. So, oops. Oh well. So I'll let this download, and I will see you guys for the beginning of the Resident Evil 3 playthrough of 2020. Cannot wait. The last game in the series, and the reason you're hearing the save background music in the background is because Steam has no music or themes, so I decided to put the Resident Evil 3 save music in the background. I decided to do that. Alright, so I will see you then for the beginning of Resident Evil 3's playthrough. I'll see you guys all there as well. Please stay safe, and please do whatever you can to help out in various ways with this coronavirus going on. I know it has been a hampering on people's lives. It sucks, but it may suck, but we're helping as well. But whatever you do, guys, stay safe, stay awesome. This is The7chaos signing off. See you later.